Howdy friends, welcome back to my channel, The Tequila Worm Show. I'm your host Worm and it's so good to have you guys back. I'm going to start this off by saying this is not a tutorial. Don't do what I do, and if you do what I do, then you know, I can't blame you. I'm pretty awesome. Oh my gosh, that was so bad. Anyways, today I'm going to be playing around with some makeup today. I'm kind of inspired by the Uncanny Valley look. Obsession was really popular. They used that kind of makeup style for their stuff. I'll post them in those little areas. Yeah, so I'm going to be playing around with some makeup. I'm going to do story time. I'm a complete goblin. I do everything with my hands, Ricky Bobby style. So you guys are going to witness some horrible makeup skills today. I'm not a makeup artist, and I'm not telling you to do what I do because I probably shouldn't be doing what I do. But without further ado, let's get into the video and into the story time. So as previously stated, I'm going to be doing a makeup / story time video today for you guys, inspired by the Uncanny Valley makeup look. Wow. Bam, 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 right here. But with it being kind of a creepy makeup look, I wanted to do like a creepy neighbor story or something like that. So I'm going to hunt that down in r/Nosleep for you guys today. So let me go ahead and do that. Here's a picture of my cat in the meantime. Alrighty friends, we're back. I went on the r/Nosleep and I found a story for y'all. This one is My Neighbor is in a Cult and I Think They Summon Something by _haunted. So once again, if you guys want to read this story on your own, it's going to be in Reddit r/Nosleep. The title is My Neighbor is in a Cult and I Think They Summon Something by _haunted. All right, without further ado, let's get into it. My neighbor is in a cult and I think they summon something. I grew up on all sides by tall, dark pine trees. The particular neighborhood I lived in wasn't really a neighborhood at all, mostly just a few houses on one road separated by large swaths of forest. It wasn't really half bad, especially if you had no interest in interacting with your neighbors. I liked to explore a lot as a kid, wandering through the forest pretending I was battling monsters who threatened the fairy kingdom of whatever, holding a long stick in my little hand as I tromped through the undergrowth. Usually I could go hours without coming across another person. I had a pretty active imagination, imagining all sorts of demons and ghosts were lurking in the forest at night. Eventually, of course, I grew up and I stopped playing in the forest. But once you become a teenager, you suddenly need the silence and privacy of the forest again. The forest became a place I could go to escape the dicks at school who called me weird and made fun of the drawings of various made-up creatures I was always working on, saying it was like a sex thing or something. For some reason, the other girls were always the most brutal, acting like they liked my cryptid shirts and oversized sweaters before going back to their friends and laughing behind my back. I've gotten into more than one fight at school and had been suspended more than once. My mom keeps wanting me to go to therapy, but I'd much rather sit in the woods in silence than talk to somebody who's paid to be my friend. One night, I was having some trouble sleeping. I was tossing around in my bed when I realized I still had half a joint from the day before. I tugged on a jacket and clambered out the window, grabbing my lighter as I went. My sneakers were silent on the forest floor as I walked through the woods to my favorite spot, a tree with a low-hanging branch shaped like a bench. I stepped over the ferns and walked to the tree, sitting down and pulled the joint and lighter out of my pocket. I was just about to light it when I saw a flickering light through the trees. It was a full moon that night, so it was fairly easy to pick my way through the underbrush towards the lights. I crept forward, and the trees parted to show a small ravine filled with shadowy figures carrying torches of all things. The figures wore long dark robes with hoods, so I couldn't see their faces. They stood around a circle of black stones on the ground, chanting things in what I assumed to be Latin. I clambered up a tree to get a better look at them, and I gazed down at them from the relative safety of a pine tree limb. After a few minutes of the figures milling around chanting, they began to organize around the circle, each of them standing at one of the black stones on the ground. One of the figures stepped forward and raised their arms, and all the figures fell silent. I watched anxiously, terrified. The figure started to speak.
Greetings, fellow children of the night. We are gathered on this full moon for the momentous summoning, a summoning that has been foretold for millennia.
A figure said. A man's voice. He had a big booming voice, one that commanded attention. The figures surrounding the circle rumbled in agreement. They reached out of their hands and began a chant as the main figure kept speaking.
O Dark Lord, we ask for your blessing on this glorious night. Might you bring us one of your damned children to us, bestow upon us the greatness of your evil might.
The man said. What the ever-living fuck? I had no idea what to do. I wanted to run, but I couldn't peel my eyes away. The main dude pulled a long bladed knife from the inside of his pocket, raising it up for the other hooded figure to see. I inched closer, but I slipped, my hand slicing on the back of a tree. I hissed in pain, wrenching my hand away. I turned my palm towards me, my blood glistening to the light of the torches. Before I could react, my blood dripped from my hand and fell practically in slow motion, down towards the circle, landing exactly in the middle. Suddenly it burst into flame, the flame shifting into the pattern of a pentagram. I shrieked, almost falling, before grabbing the branch again. Unfortunately, I caught the attention of the cultists. One of them pointed at me and shouted something to the others. I couldn't hear it over the roar of the flames. I quickly shimmied to the trunk of the tree and I clambered down. The second my sneakers hit the ground, I started running, the cultists shouting behind me. I dashed through the woods, a fire growing behind me, illuminating my path. I heard a massive roar behind me, but I refused to turn around. I heard rustling behind me and a strong hand grabbed my arm, wrenching me backwards. Foolish girl, you have no idea what you've done, the figure hissed, and I instantly recognized the voice of that leader. F off, you crazy guy, I shouted, punching him in the chin. He yelled and I took off running again. The firelight dimmed behind me and I managed to get back to my house. I climbed back through the window, breathing hard. I shut it and I locked it, drawing my curtains over for good measure. I crawled back into bed and I tried to forget whatever just happened was real. I didn't sleep at all that night. The next day, I went to school like normal. I was exhausted, of course, but somehow managed not to fall asleep during class. I was in math class when a voice came over the intercom asking everyone to go to the gym for an assembly. I grabbed my backpack and I threw it over my shoulder, my hair falling into my eyes. I joined the stream of students, rubbing my eyes. Ursula, someone shouted behind me. I turned around to see my one and only friend push her way through the crowd of people. She finally made it to me, panting. Hey, Sadie, I said, smiling for the first time all day. Sadie and I had been best friends for as long as I could remember. Our moms were close, and when her parents got divorced when Sadie was 5, she stayed at my house a lot. We were interested in a lot of the same things, even though you would never know it from looking at us. I'm a lot more introverted and I wear mostly black. Sadie is super extroverted and wears flowers all the time. Today, for example, she was wearing a flowery sundress and a cardigan in the middle of winter. Her long blonde hair done up in a bun, while I wore a band t-shirt, black jeans, and a black leather boot. My short, bob black hair was an unruly mess. We're quite a pair, really. What's with the assembly? I asked Sadie, gesturing to the sea of students pushing their way into the doors of the gym. Beats me, Sadie said, grabbing my hand to keep me from getting lost. I hadn't heard anything about it. We finally made it to the gym and found a spot on the bleachers. I pulled out my phone and turned on the front camera, and I started to mess with my septum ring. Stop touching it. You remember what the piercer said? Sadie chided me. I know, but it's crooked, I said, not taking my eyes off the phone. Sadie nudged and I groaned, putting my phone down. It's starting anyway. The gym went quiet as the vice principal went on stage. Despite being a tiny, awkward woman, the entire school respected and loved Vice Principal Blanchard. She always let people off who were on her good side. Naturally, I was not one of the lucky few to be blessed with that privilege. Greetings, students. The microphone made a hideous noise, eliciting groans and shouts from the audience. Sorry, she stuttered, shuffling some papers. Unfortunately, Principal Atkins, had an accident last night, and he will not be joining us for the foreseeable future. I sat up, suddenly interested. I nudged Sadie. You think the principal got whacked? She shushed me. So, I'm very happy to introduce our new principal, Mr. Malice. A man walked on stage. He was tall, with dark hair and a commanding presence. There was the customary applause from teachers and most students, but I had just rolled my eyes and looked back at my phone. Greetings, students, Principal Malice said into the microphone. I about fell out of my seat. That voice was the voice of the lead cultist in the woods from last night. My eyes widened, and Sadie looked at me with concern. As your new principal, I intend to make some change, Malice said, puffing out of his chest. The disciplinary records of this school are truly appalling, and I intend to make several changes. Lateness will not be tolerated. Fighting is an expellable offense. Sadie looked at me pointedly, and dress code will be strictly enforced. I intend to make this school a bright star other schools will look to envy. He grinned chillingly. Then he seemed to look straight at me and said, mischief of any kind will not be tolerated. Dismissed. I practically ran out of the gym, Sadie close behind. Are you okay, Ursula? Why did you freak out when you saw him? Sadie asked, trying to keep up with me. Look, I can't talk about it right now. I don't want to get you involved. I'm your best friend, Ursula. I want to be involved. I stopped and I turned to her. You're not going to believe what I'm about to tell you. Sadie grinned. That's what I love to hear. I pulled her into an empty classroom and I told her everything, cults and flaming pentacles included. Her eyes widened with every detail. What are you going to do? Sadie asked. I have no idea, I said, slumping into a chair. Maybe I'll try and get evidence against him and find a way to get him arrested. Well, maybe, although technically I wouldn't say he did anything illegal, per se. True, but it's only a matter of time until he does, I said. I noticed a quickly moving black shadow in the corner of my vision, and I turned my head towards the door. It was gone, nothing there. Fuck, I'm starting to see things now. Look, Sadie, I'm exhausted, I said, standing up. Okay, I'll drive you home after school. There's just one class and then the bell rang, dismissing everyone for the day. Guess my story took longer than I thought. Never mind. I walked with Sadie to the parking lot and I climbed into her aging car and she drove me home. We live close together. She lives in the same area but on a different street. She drove down my street, her car jerking through the rain puddles. I turned to look at my window, watching as my neighbor's house got closer, and there was a moving van outside of the house closest to mine. Principal Malice was outside talking to a couple who were holding a plate of cookies. Sadie stopped the car, her mouth gaping open. I turned to her. What are you doing? Drive, I hissed. Principal Malice noticed us and waved, starting to walk over. Sadie rolled down the passenger window and blasted a grin on her face. Hello, Principal, she said.
Yes, Sadie Jones, is it? What, on the student council?
Malice said, bending down slightly to look in the window. Yes, sir.
Excellent. And who is your friend?
Ursula, I said, deadpan.
Lovely. I suppose we're neighbors now, aren't we? I moved here the day before yesterday to be closer to my church.
Malice grinned. That's lovely, I said, crossing my arms. You seem like a very spiritual person. Malice grinned further. Well, Sadie said, breaking the silence, we really must be going. Nice seeing you, Principal. She rolled up the window and began driving away. I groaned. Well, what's he going to do? He can't just kill you. Yeah, but he might, I said. What's stopping him? Sorry, I panicked, Sadie said, pulling into my driveway. Look, I brought the latest zombie shooting game. You want to play? I sighed. As long as you promise not to make me talk to our cultist principal anymore. Deal. We played for a few hours and Sadie stayed for dinner. After she went home, I went to bed early, saying goodnight to my parents as I walked upstairs to my room. I crawled into my bed, turning off my lamp and falling asleep almost immediately. In the middle of the night, I jerked awake, overcome with the feeling of something watching me. Despite the darkness, I could see an unnaturally tall figure standing in the corner. I choked down a scream, I shot my hand over to my nightstand, and I tried to turn on my lamp. Nothing happened, except the dark figure opened its eyes, revealing 2 blood-red orbs. It stepped towards me, and I sat up. Don't come any closer, I commanded. It took another step towards me, and in a moment of pure rage over everything that had happened to me that night, I leapt out of bed and launched myself at it. I said, "Stop," I shouted. I hit the figure, but my blow did nothing. The figure caught me, its shadowy arms wrapping around me. Its hands slid under my armpits and lifted me up to its face, and it cocked its head. I launched my fist out, but my hands went right through its face, like it was made out of smoke, before its head reformed the way it was. What do you want from me? I said, frustrated, starting to cry. Why are you here? What could you possibly want with me? Tears dripped from my face, past my bare feet, and onto the old wooden floor. The creature holding me gently sat down and crouched to continue looking into my face with its fiery eyes. It reached up a pitch black hand and wiped away a tear with a long, spindly finger. I couldn't speak, but I heard it in my mind somehow. Do not cry, mortal. I am not here to cause you harm. I looked up at it, terrified. Why are you here? I was summoned by you, correct? No, I began, and then I realized my blood fell into the circle. My blood summoned this thing. I accidentally hijacked the ritual those freaks were doing in the woods. I'm sorry, I said. I didn't mean to summon you. It was an accident. You do not need my services? I don't think so, I said, my voice trembling. That's unfortunate, the figure said. I have never been to this plane of existence before. It paused. Excited, I believe, is the terms humans use. I blinked, unsure how to react to this. I mean, you can stay if you want. I don't think it'll be a problem. The figure smiled, opening a mouth I hadn't seen before. Rows upon rows of pure white teeth twisted into a Cheshire cat-like grin, sending a chill down my spine. Excellent. I think I'm gonna regret this. Alrighty, folks, that was r/Nosleep, _haunted. This was made 8 years ago, and it is My Neighbor Isn't a Cult, and I think they summoned something. Thank you guys for listening to my video and watching me mess around with makeup. Like I said, this is not a tutorial. This is just me goofing around and having fun, and I hope you guys enjoyed the process of it all. Yeah, this one was alright. I kind of got a little bit bored halfway through reading it, but I think that was just my own attention span. I think it was written pretty well. And I'm just gonna mention the fact that they used, hold on, what word was it? They really liked using a certain word, and it kept getting me. All right, I found the word. It was clambered. Clambered? That's going to be our word of the day, clambered. All right, you guys, have a wonderful day. Thank you for sticking around and listening to another story time with me. I will see you guys in the next episode. Bye.